Hello everybody, I am the Helpful Witch, and today I want to talk to you about how the season will work in Hogwarts Legacy. This is gonna be a bit of speculation on my part, but I'm very curious to hear your thoughts in the comments as well. So please let me know in the comments below what you think about how the season is gonna work. I'm gonna share my thoughts very shortly, and also subscribe if you're curious about more Hogwarts Legacy content coming up in the future from me. Okay, let's get into the video. We have had the different seasons being confirmed in the gameplay reveal trailer, so we know that there will be different seasons within the Hogwarts Legacy game. However, what we don't really know is how these seasons are going to work. And I say this because they have also confirmed day-night cycles, which then makes me think that these seasons are gonna have to have some pretty strict rules to know how they're gonna actually trigger. Because now, if we have a normal video game and this video game has day-night cycles and also seasons, technically you could have a game where a set number of in-game day signify a certain number of seasons or months passed. So this wouldn't necessarily be an issue or even something to theorize about, because they would just set, let's say, 30 days means that it's been a month, and then 3 months means, or 4 months means there's been a season, whatever, right? So this wouldn't necessarily be something interesting to talk about. However, we know from Hogwarts Legacy that we're gonna be working with a school year. Now, there's been some speculation about being multiple school years. However, we're mostly sure that this is gonna be just one single year, as one of the old game developers reported the poster that made us think that there were going to be 2 different years as a bug. Therefore, we can speculate that this is actually going to be just one school year. So what is the significance of the school year? The school year usually runs between September, sometimes October, through June, sometimes July. Therefore, what we know is that actually there is going to be a set number of months, let's say, that this is going to take place. Therefore, we know that we're going to be able to only go through the seasons once, because a school year takes place between technically one of the years. Therefore, you only go through seasons once. Now, this comes with an issue, however, because if you're tied to only once a season, so if you're tied to only going through the seasons once, then you're gonna also be tied to technically the number of days that can pass between each seasons, right? So usually within, you know, our actual real life years, there is a set number of days between each of the seasons, and that's it every year. Now, this is probably not gonna be what happens in-game, because that will make the player limited to a certain number of days to complete the actual game. So it would say basically that, I don't know, to complete, usually school years are around 200 days. So you will have technically 200 in-game days to complete the game, which is something very silly that it's never gonna happen. So what does that tell us? That tells us that we're gonna have fixed seasons, and that's gonna be because that way you can have as many days as you want in between seasons. You can spend as much time in fall and as little time in spring as you want, but that way you will always have a specific trigger for the different seasons, and you'll be able to just keep going in your in-game days. If you just want to look around Hogwarts and do nothing every day, then you're gonna be able to do that without having the season passing and then coming to the end of the game after 200 days and you're being very confused on what is happening because you did nothing rather than just explore the castle. So this is probably not gonna happen, and therefore you're gonna have fixed seasons which will trigger through different main quests. Another way to look at this is through different acts. So you could just think of season as different acts that the game plays. So you will have a first act, a second act, a third act, and possibly a fourth act, and this different act will have a specific main quest storyline, and then once you finish that main quest storyline, the first act ends and then the second one begins. This is actually probably going to be more likely the solution to what Hogwarts Legacy is going to play as. That way you'll be able to experience each season for as long as you want, and then trigger a main quest event to move on into the different seasons. You'll probably have also a confirmation, I'd assume. So I'd assume that once you're about to start the last quest of that different act, then you will get a pop-up that says once you trigger this quest, this act or this season will end, and then you will finish this quest in through winter, let's say. So it will give us a prompt to confirm that we're going to do this. And why I think there is going to be a prompt is actually because I think there is going to be season-specific quests. So what do I mean by season-specific quests? I mean quests that you can only trigger within a specific season. Now I'm going to speak about this in more specifics in just a second, but what I want to start with is actually discussing the tutorial. I want to discuss the tutorial because I think this is gonna be an introduction, so it's not gonna be a specific season or a specific act. I just think this is gonna be an introduction to the actual game. So we've seen Fig coming to pick us up, and we know there is probably gonna be some confrontation with Runrock and so on. So I think that will be the beginning of, you know, our story, and also the beginning of the tutorial. We've seen a little bit in the Autodesk presentation that they've shown us how Fig shows us very basic spells, probably something like Expelliarmus to just, or Stopify or something like that, and Protego to just get us through the first bit of combat. And then once we make it to Hogwarts, I think we're gonna have the tutorial continue with the first class of every different class that we can experience. So let's take Herbology and Potion and Divination for an example. I think we're gonna go through all of them after we come to Hogwarts once in a specific quest-defined manner. So we will have a quest that says go to Herbology, and then another quest after we finish Herbology saying go to Potion, and so on. And this is going to be just so that we can get a feel about different classes, and then trigger also the room of requirement because we figure out that we're too behind or whatever. This will be a very long tutorial that will show us different bits and bobs about the game and the core main bits that we need to know before we can be set to our own devices to explore all of Hogwarts and outside of Hogwarts. I think, you know, again, outside, I think it's gonna be unlocked after a specific time. I think we're gonna need to be doing a couple of things before inside so that the game developers can assure that we know what we're doing within Hogwarts to then be able to send us outside of Hogwarts. Now, a game that I think it's gonna be playing similarly as is gonna be Zelda Breath of the Wild. And I say this because at the beginning you have the very big area at the beginning, which is still open world, but you can't go off the Great Plateau. You have to first finish the 4 shrines and then come back to the Temple of Time to be able to actually get a paraglider and start your journey into the full open world that it is Breath of the Wild. So I think it's going to be very similar. I think we're going to have a very strict tutorial at the beginning, which is going to be a bit annoying for some people, and I think that will have to do because we have just so much content, or we will have so much content in this game. We've seen so much already about different side quests that we don't even have to do, and so I think they really need us to have a very strong hand onto the game and know what we're gonna do to be able to then live us through our own devices, but we need to have this tutorial in place at the beginning. So as I said, I think Zelda Breath of the Wild is probably a good game to reference it to, where it has a very big still open world tutorial, but you are tied into that area before you can actually explore the rest of the world. So maybe the tutorial would just be Hogwarts basically, and then as soon as we finish that we can go out again, but I think it's gonna be very similar. Now, going back to the different acts and the seasonal side quests that I was speaking about before, I think once we finish the tutorial, we're gonna be able to start exploring Hogwarts and around Hogwarts. And I believe in each season we will have a specific set of quests that we can only do in that season. So for example, we've seen in the gameplay reveal trailer a shot of the main character with nearly headless Nick, and they're going to his death day party, I believe, or something around that. That could be either a specific seasonal side quest that we only are able to do within the fall season, or maybe the first act, because we know that this is around the 31st of October, and again it's very spooky, very seasonal with Halloween, so it will make sense to have that there. And if this is not tied to a main quest, then this will have to be season specific, because we're not gonna really be able to do that any other time, because we know that his death day is on the 31st of October, and so it needs to be tied in with fall. So I think this is either gonna be part of the main quest, and this is also gonna be how we progress maybe to the next season, for example, or this is gonna be a totally unique side quest that we can only unlock during the fall time, so during the possibly first act of the game. So I think it will make sense for each season to have a set of specific quests that you can only unlock at that time and you can only perform at that time. And then once you have completed those quests, or if you don't want to do them and you want to skip them, you're gonna be able to keep progressing on the main quest, and once you reach a certain event, that will trigger, again as I said, maybe a pop-up to confirm that that you're happy to move on and that you don't want to do all of the things that you need to do before. So you're gonna just click yes, sure, I'll go, and that would change the season automatically. As I said, this is the only way I can think of the game would be able to work, with also a day-night cycle, being freely cycling through and not having a countdown until the end of the game. But this is also why I wanted to make this video, because I want to know from you what you think is gonna be like a season in Hogwarts Legacy. How do you think this will trigger? Do you agree with me that the main quest will trigger different seasons? Or do you think that the seasons will just roll as the time passes and it doesn't really matter how many days we spend, it'll just kind of sense it out of nowhere or out of a different way, you know, that maybe I didn't think of? I would be very interested to hear your thoughts. I also want to know whether you think there is going to be seasonal side quests. Do you think there is going to be some side quests that we can only do in winter, for example? I think that would be super cool to do something with the snow. I am already imagining our main character casting a disillusionment charm and throwing some snowballs to people that we don't really like at Hogwarts, a little bit like Harry Potter and throwing the snowballs at Malfoy. This is what I'm imagining, and this is why I think there's going to be side quests. I would think it would be very silly to not do something specifically with the snow. I think it's such a good idea, and also again, different seasons have different charms for different people, and I think it would be a great way to play on the strengths of the season to make a side quest specific to that season and then only be able to have it during that time. Do you agree with me? Do you think this is not going to be the case? I'm very curious, so please let me know in the comments below. But again, these were my thoughts for the day. I really want to hear your thoughts. I know I always put so many questions at the end of my video, but I am truly honored to be able to have this conversation with you guys and listen to what you have to say in the comments. I've loved replying to all of you guys, so please let me know your thoughts. As always, also please like and subscribe if you have enjoyed this video, and if you want to hear more videos coming from me, I would really appreciate you subscribing. It will mean the world to me, so please subscribe below, and again, comment your theories, let me know what else you want to hear me speak about, and I'll see you next time. Bye!